you don't want to sit next to me,
I'm
Scott.
sitting here.
That's, I think, that's what the last person gets. Go
Scott,
live.
you have the most impeccable timing of anybody I just. Never a moment wasted.
Just a reminder before we get started that there's no microphones today, so speak loudly.
The microphone is gonna be that way. I think it'll pick up.
You don't want to sit back there, you'll be really there to sit clear up here.
Okay, we'll go ahead and get started. The meeting will come to order. This is the Erda City Council meeting held on Thursday, February 24th, 2022 at 7 p.m. We are at the West Erda Fire Station located at 2163 West Erda Way, Erda, Utah. We'll start with a roll call. Scott Bourdain. Here. Greg Smith. Here. Jess Bird is here. Bill Martin. Here. And Terry Minor. Here. Pledge. All the Repeat after me.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Okay, we'll roll right into public comment. If you have something to say to the city council, please come up, sign your name, state your name, and let us know what you have to say.
So, where do I stand? This,
You
Anywhere,
can
find it
stand
first.
wherever. We're pretty casual tonight.
Says it's going, so.
so I'm here to turn in my petition to disconnect. I live in Stansbury. My house is split in half between Erda City and Stansbury. So I'm here to turn in my petition to disconnect and disconnect my whole street, to leave us into unincorporated Tooele County. I haven't heard from the lawyer. I've asked 3 times to know if this is everything that he needs. I don't know, are you the lawyer?
I'm aware.
Okay, well, you haven't responded to any of my emails, so, hopefully this is everything that
Yeah,
I
I
need to
did
turn
send
in.
you originally.
Right, and I emailed you last Wednesday that asked if I had everything in order, and you didn't respond, and I asked again this week for a response, and I didn't get a response, so I hope this is everything. And then I'm asking for permission to be on the agenda on March 31st, because I have to send out a letter to all of my neighbors and post it in the paper. You have to get at least 3 weeks, but so I'm giving myself more than that to be able to get all the letters out to my neighbors to get it in the paper. So will that work?
Let's see why not.
I don't see why not.
Okay. And do you know what else, is there anything else I need to do besides turn this in and send out the letters?
I'm not an expert in this type of law, but we will have John respond to you.
Okay.
With what we've got here.
Okay. All right. That's it. Thanks.
Thank you.
Nice haircut, Daryl.
Thanks. So my name's Daryl Anderson. I live in Stansbury, Erda. I'm not sure what to call myself. I call Erda, but you guys would probably say Stansbury. Wanted to share a few thoughts with you. First of all, I think everybody realizes that I fought tooth and nail to prevent the incorporation of Erda. But now that it's here, I think we all need to take the opportunity to make sure that it's successful. You know, it's here, so let's get on board and make it successful. And that's going to take a lot from everybody. Some compromise, maybe some hard swallows, whatever it is, but let's make it successful. Grandma used to tell a story that basically, and I don't have the time to tell it, so I'll just get to the point. And really what it is sometimes those people you think are your enemies are really your friends. And sometimes those people you think are your friends are really your enemies. And I think the last couple of days, without a doubt, have proven that. So I get that probably most of you, if not all of you, view me as the enemy, view Oak Point as the enemy. But what I'm here to tell you is that's not the case. We're actually the friend of Erda City. And outside of this 5 of you, I think Oak Point probably has the greatest opportunity to make Erda City successful than anything else. Now I get that Oak Point is a hard pill to swallow for many people in Erda, and probably maybe for all 5 of you. But the fact of the matter is, it has the opportunity to provide you what you absolutely need, and that's money. After Oak Point was approved, we actually went to the county council and to you guys and said, you know what, Oak Point's approved, but we're still going to throw out there an olive leaf because we want Erda City to be successful, because we're going to be in Erda City. And so we're going to give you $1 million and 3 acres of ground to have a free city hall. Let's make Erda City successful, okay? How are we going to do that? Well, I think that there's a few things. One is that we got to get going, okay? We have 1 acre lots that are 90% through the approval process. But now with Erda City and the moratorium and that, we get that. Let's get those going. Let's get the subdivisions lifted so that we can get those 1 acre subdivisions approved and going forward, so you guys can get the money off of it. You can get those subdivision fees. And then right after that, let's get Oak Point going. What is that going to take? I think it's actually going to take the opportunity to go, let's do what's right and not what ECA tells us is right. It's going to take the opportunity to go, who is really going to be here to make Erda City successful, and who's here going to be to continue to tear this community apart? It's going to take, probably, to be honest with you, some of you to say to John, hey, let's get going forward and stop taking our directions from Janet Conway. Last week you passed a couple of ordinances. Not only do they violate state law, but they violate your own ordinances. I get that, okay? Everybody's trying to figure everything out. But why did those occur? They occur because we were trying to appease a special interest group. So then when we start jumping through these hoops that people are putting there for us, we start to make mistakes. We start to muddy the water. We start to confuse things, and we pass ordinances that are illegal. Guys, let's just take a step back and make Erda City successful. Thanks.
If I'd known that you were informal today, I would know what my formal were. Jeff McNeil, I'm from the west end of Erda. I likewise wanted to comment on some of the same issues. I just sat through the county's council's meeting that luckily saved us from going into debt, because this county now pulled that off the table. They're not going to lend us the money, but probably cost us about $257,000 in operating money. So that leaves us in a pinch, and that came from two of the particularities: inability to negotiate, to compromise, and to work with those around us. That's what I want to talk a little bit about tonight. We got a lawsuit. We got a large landowner, 6 Mile Ranch, is suing us to basically get out of the city. They want to disassociate the city, disincorporate the city, so that they can get out, because they see that's the only way. Now, I don't speak for 6 Mile Ranch. I only know where 6 Mile Ranch is because I drive by it once in a while. I don't know what they manage or anything about it that way. I have no financial interest nor other interest in 6 Mile Ranch whatsoever. But, Mr. Chairman, you even stated in one meeting that they're worth about $36 a year to us in taxes. So why do we care? Let's negotiate with them. Let's compromise. I'm willing to bet, don't get on my own intuition, that if we compromise with 6 Mile Ranch and said, yeah, we'll let you out of the city, but that lawsuit would go away. We wouldn't have to pay upwards of $2, $3, I don't know, $100,000 in attorney fees. And no matter what your attorneys tell you, when you win, it's still lost, because it still costs you money. I speak of that in experience in running a business for 47 years. That when attorneys get involved, only the attorneys win. Somehow you lose. Compromises with wins. Maybe we can compromise. Why do we need 6 Mile Ranch for $36 a year? It's gonna cost us more than that to plow snow in front of their place. Why do we need it? Is it just so we can control them? So somehow we can say, you don't get to do anything except what we want? That's what it appears like. It appears like your hatred for developments is gonna cost us hundreds of thousands of dollars in relationship with the county. Let's stop that. Let's do make Erda best. I didn't want to be in Erda either. I thought I lived in Grantsville. I was fine with my Grantsville address and the Grantsville neighborhood and my kids going to Grantsville, and somehow nobody ever came and asked me. Not a single neighbor, not a single sponsor, anything said, do you want to be in Erda? They never asked. But now I'm in Erda. I'll make the best of that. The way you passed your ordinance last week, everybody in Erda who has a home business is now operating that home business illegally. Whether it's a rental business out of your house is now illegal because you have no way to get conditional use permits. They don't just fall into place from the county. So all of those people, I've had 3 of them call me this week. That one of them, my brother's wants to build a building for, so they can continue to operate their business, and they're going to do it illegally because of an ordinance you passed. I was 5 minutes from turning in a referendum on that ordinance on 2209, but because Craig kind of talked me out of it, I decided not to, because if we're going to do everything by referendum and lawsuit, let's do everything by referendum and lawsuit. Let's put everything up to a public vote. Every dime we spend, everything, and let's see how good that works. So let's compromise. Let's realize that we don't get everything we want. I learned that a long time ago in marriage and in raising a family, that you don't get everything you want, that you have to compromise. And I've learned that in business as well. I have to negotiate with many of my clients to make things work. Let's do that. And let's move forward and be successful. Thank you.
Julie Lyman, I see your raised hand online. We'll get you in just a minute.
Didn't come, Allison kept Erda, didn't come planning on saying anything until Dale Anderson got up and disparaged the Erda Community Association, just like what happened in the 3 o'clock meeting today. Even Scott Wardle disparaged us and then was critical of allegedly disparaging comments that Janet Conway made in court. I'm a proud member of the Erda Community Association. The people who do not like us are the people who did not want to incorporate. Plain and simple. We would not have incorporated if it wasn't for us. Yes, we do referendums. Yes, lawsuits have been filed. Lawsuits are filed when the law is broken. Referendums are filed when the council, Tulare County Council, doesn't listen to the people. I can tell you that of all the referendums that I've been involved in, we've had at least 800 people in Erda say no to high density, okay? Mr. Anderson calls for compromise. Well, the properties that he's talking about are 5 in commercial general. You know, the people over there might accept 2.5 acres, but maybe not. I mean, Oak Point almost triples our population. The people don't want high density. And if we were listened to, there would be no reason to file referendums. I get disparaged, I think twice today, by Chuck McCown and his wife. I don't even know Chuck McCown. Some boss hog comment being critical of somehow I'm responsible for you guys hiring Travis Romney. Okay? They say nasty stuff about us all the time, and 99% of the time we don't engage. They call us liars, fraudsters. I mean, you name it, we're responsible for it. And it's better not to engage. But I've had enough. There are hundreds of us in the Erda Community Association, and there are more than 1,000 of us I know over the years of getting referendum signatures. People don't want high density here. A compromise would be, okay, Mr. Anderson, you and Joe knew that that property was zoned RR5. You want to come to the table with those people, maybe they'll go for 2.5. But no high density, period. Nobody wants high density in Erda except for the people who A, didn't want to incorporate, or B, have a financial interest in high density. Thank you.
I did say Julie Lyman could be next online. Can we let her go first? Julie, if you can hear me, go ahead. You'll have to unmute yourself.
Okay, thank you. I have been worried I was not for incorporation, but when it passed, I want to get on board. I want it to succeed, but I've been worried from the get-go as a person on fixed income with taxes. And all I seem to see every week, some of these probably can't be avoided. We're going to have to pay interest on loans. We're going to have to pay increased charges. But it infuriates me when I see charges coming down the road with all these lawsuits that could be avoided. We already have a housing crisis, and you're going to make it so that people on fixed incomes and retired people are not going to be able to afford to live here. And that's not right either. There are more people in this community than just ECA, and ECA does not speak for all of us. And it's very upsetting to me to see some of the direction we're going. Thank you.
Good evening. I'm Hallie Mayturn. I actually was one of the people that called Jeff and spoke with him about my small business, and also I spoke with you, Craig, on the phone. I have a small business. I run it out of my house, and I never had to apply for a CUP because back in 2015, when I did start my business, I got my state licensing, and I also got my county licensing here, and that was sufficient. I had applied to build a outbuilding to run my business and was then told I needed to get a CUP. I did that, and I have that. But I'm here tonight also because being a small business owner and running out of my house, and that is part of our income coming into our home. Without having that conditional use permit being valid anymore, where does that leave me as a small business owner running out of my house? And how are we going to remedy it? Because I can't wait 6 months. I can't cease my business operations for 6 months and stay alive in my industry. And so I guess tonight, if I can get some answers on that, on where we are and how long it's going to take, and work together with us as small business owners. There's a lot of us in the county, and I don't even think a lot of us even knew about it. I didn't know until I spoke with these two gentlemen about it, and then I found out that the conditional use permit didn't transfer over to Erda City. Another thing I'd like to put out there are these meetings and notifying the public and letting us know if there's maybe some other. Do we have a website for the county yet? Is that on the agenda? Okay, maybe using the drive-in theater kiosk, with putting the meetings that we have a town meeting or something, so that we can all come together and voice our opinions. Because if I hadn't have just been on Facebook by chance, then I would not even have known this meeting was tonight. So,
Can I ask you a couple of questions?
absolutely.
Your name?
It's Hallie, Hallie, Matern.
You wouldn't, if I asked what kind of business?
Yes, I do all natural dog treats. Yeah.
So you do a lot of shipping?
I do a lot of shipping. I actually take my packages to the post office. I like to go in and talk to them. And then I do farmers markets. I sell my product at farmers markets.
And do you have employees?
No, it's just me. Well, on Saturdays, I have helpers that help at the farmers markets, because I do a couple.
But none are sitting in your house?
No. Well, I mean, they come and they park, they take my vehicle, yes.
Oh, I see.
And they do, but for the county, when I spoke with them, it didn't constitute it count as an employee because it wasn't full-time all the time, every day, coming in and out. So no. And, yeah, but I make everything myself. I package it all myself and I sell it. And I'd like to continue to do so. I've been doing this business for 10 years now, 7 of it here in Erda. And I'd like to grow and be profitable and grow as and get my stuff out in more stores.
Great, thank you.
Thank you.
Well, what's the name of your business? You gotta put a plug in.
Yeah, it's called Proof Positive, and that's PAWS, as in the dog's paw.
First advertisement.
Yeah, there you go.
So, I just want to, in response to what you were saying about the notifications of the meetings, I just want to put in another plug. Our main way of contacting people right now is through the Utah Public Notice website. So if you'll Google Utah Public Notice website, go to cities, click on Erda, click the subscribe button, you will see, you will get emails about everything we're doing, including all the documents that we have.
Thank you.
Mr. Jensen.
Michael Jensen, Erda. So I'm real confused about this business thing because I'm going to tell you straight up. I have a conditional use permit. I have a business and I'm running it legally. Period. It's the true definition of grandfathering. If you created something that's more restrictive than what I was able to do legally in the county, I'm legal. Period. Right? I'm seeing heads nod.
Can you comment on that? Everybody's talking.
So why you have to can't run your business is beyond me.
If you have a conditional use permit that was good in the county,
That's right. It's legal, so I don't know where that nonsense is coming from.
Why are people saying that they're not?
Conditional use permits run with the property. As an organization, the county or the city, it doesn't matter. That is something granted to you on your property. So if you had a conditional use permit before, you still have a conditional use permit today. It was granted, it's yours. Until you change your use, it does not go away.
This is half the problem, is misinformation that people take and run with it
Well,
to the extreme.
Well, and that's why I'm here tonight, because I want to make sure, because I don't want to do anything illegally. for
Now,
sure.
a new conditional use permit is something we have to deal with. But if you have one, you have one, and that's not something that can be taken away by the city being formed.
and also even if you had one that you had already submitted and paid for, you still proceed on that.
if it was issued by the entity,
No, if it was applied for and paid for through Twilla County
By January 5th.
by January 5th,
They just took that date out,
it would still move forward.
took the date out on the last ordinance.
but was the conditional use granted by the planning and zoning?
Yes, that's where, well,
Because it has to have a public hearing.
it depends on the conditional use.
That's right.
Some of them can be done by staff, some of them can be done by the planning and zoning. We allowed everything that had an application put in and paid for to move forward.
But you took that date out on the last ordinance. No, we didn't.
No, that's,
The January 5th date is no longer there when it comes to conditional use permits.
It is in 2209. 2210 is not.
All right. Next, I, in this meeting, heard, and it is said many times, that the people don't want this, or the people don't want that, specifically Mrs. Kidd. Well, am I part of the people of Erda? Because I live in Erda. You don't represent me.
I didn't say I read.
You said the people.
I'm
So
talking
what I
about
want
the
to make,
people that
so what I
I
wanna
talked to, they're one of my friends.
so what I want to make certain that is clear to this board is that I'm the people, but I represent me. I'm not going to get up here and say the people don't want high density. Okay? I'll tell you that I favor planned communities. I think they can be great.
if they're done right. We have an opportunity with Mr. Anderson and Mr. White to do it right. But if we negotiate, like the Temple property was negotiated, by a handful of people in a private meeting that claimed to represent the people, I've listened to the tape, I've heard it. They claim to represent all of us. They don't represent me. Period. ECA doesn't represent me. Okay, I represent me. Period. So one thing I would like to know on this agenda, oh, and I am going to say I will say I ditto everything you heard from Jack McNeil and Darrell Anderson. They're right. If we can't compromise and better yet collaborate, like we talked about last week, we're done. We're done. So, two things. Authorization to sign agreement with Anthony Micella, I support 100%. I think that he did a great job. If you really are serious about governing based on input and listening to as many people as will come and talk to you, great. If you're just going to listen to one special interest, good luck. Good luck. Because as Mr. McNeil said, I guess we've learned something. We can govern by referendum. And we will. We'll just govern by referendum. That's what it takes. Lastly, I'm curious what ordinance adoption is, because in the agenda, when I read ordinance adoption, it sounds to me like you're adopting an ordinance, and I got no clue what you're adopting. Not looking, it's just public comment. You don't have to give me feedback. But when I read that, and then I go over to the thing, and I see the only documents are for the police chief, I'm lost. Because I wish I had been more prepared last week when I saw the shenanigans of pulling out the animal ordinance. And those were shenanigans, putting it nicely. That's all I have to say.
So I pulled up 23-9. And you're right, the date is back in there. The part that I'm concerned about is I sat in last Thursday's meeting and listened very intently and also read the ordinances that were posted the day before. And what is here is something different than what was discussed and voted on last week. Because there's discussions in here on chapter 9. That wasn't discussed last week. And so we're making additions and changes to your ordinances after the meeting. It's problematic. We're in the meeting. I mean, we can't keep track of what you guys are doing.
What chapter is missing?
Well, no, so in here it says that you, last week I thought what I heard is that you had repealed the January 5th for conditional use permits. That wording went out in the discussion last week. Now it's back in, but now after that it talks about, except for conditional use permits that are related to the repeal of chapter 9. That wasn't in the wording that was discussed. You guys were discussing last week. Where did that wording come from? I mean, I'll go back and watch the video, and maybe that's what I need to do. But we're struggling to be able to keep track of how these ordinances are coming and going and changing on the fly. And then this is what gets posted. And I can scroll down. I assume it's what you signed, Jeff. Well, actually, it's not signed, but I assume it's the one that you will sign. It's difficult.
The signed ones are online.
No, this is on the Utah Open Meetings.
The signed one's online too. I read them today.
Okay, well, this is up right.
Derek, would you please email me your concern, and we will definitely look into it.
And some suggestions if you have.
Yeah, and guys, I'll go back and watch last week's video. I may be wrong. But I'm telling you, chapter 9 is very important to me.
And it's very important to me that what makes it onto that website and gets signed is what we're doing.
Yeah. I mean, you know, there's millions of dollars riding on chapter 9. And so if that was discussed last week, I think I would have remembered it.
I don't remember discussing chapter 9 in specific. I remember discussing chapter 31.
And I may be wrong. I mean, I was wrong on the July date, it's in here, but it's not my recollection of last week.
I think you did.
We do have online another hand raised from Diane TZAR. Diane, if you can hear me, you can unmute yourself and feel free to go ahead.
Thank you. It's Diane Haney, and I do own property in Erda, so all the naysayers can just whatever. I'm going to comment and back up Allison. Where have all these people been the last 3 years that are now coming up and disputing everything that ECA has been doing for the last 3 years? I will say, had they been involved like they are now, maybe we wouldn't be in the position we are in. We do referendums because laws are broken. Zoning is changed according to what the majority of the people don't want. We voted. There was votes. There was legal votes, and we were the rezones were approved. I mean, not the rezones were approved, but the vote was in the favor of not allowing the rezone. So those are the people that are supporting Erda and the Tooele County citizens. So those are those people that ECA is representing. I know your guys' job is really hard, and I'm really sorry that you're in this mess. I'm sorry that Tooele County has completely turned their back on Erda, even though they claimed they weren't going to. So I just, know you guys are being prayed for. Know that we're supporting you any way we can, and please just remember, Erda is a small town, and we'd like to keep it as rural as possible. And the two major developers, Joe White and Daryl Dandison, that we've been fighting, obviously are really pulling out the ranks and fighting hard. And I'm sorry that you guys have to go through this. Anyhow, please save Erda. Thank you.
So in response to Diane Haney, the people who haven't been here the last 3 years have just been living their lives, enjoying their property, and doing what they want until the fist of control has been brought upon landowners, property users, people who want to do AUGs, have CUPs, whatever. So I appreciate what Mike Jensen said, the ECA doesn't represent me, for sure, but do you represent the ECA? So between the time you were elected and sworn in, you had a closed door meeting in this building with the ECA and Janet Conway, their attorney. People tried to come in from the public and they weren't allowed in. So obviously there's no record, there's nothing ground requestable, we don't know what was discussed, what was agreed to, anything. In the ordinance meeting last week, one of the biggest issues that came up was the Erda Community Association. And your first move after that meeting was to hire Janet Conway, the Erda Association attorney. So unity in the community is really not going very far with a lot of us in this room. So Janet was hired to defend the LGO, the lawsuit with the LGO. The LGO, the Lieutenant Governor's office, will do a great job defending it. I'm sure Mr. Brems could have went, sat there, and their attorneys would take great care of it for the city. They don't want to see the city fail. They don't want to admit there were wrongs committed by their office just as much as any of the other people wanted to admit wrongs were committed. We've had a sponsor, an ECA board member, call us and let us know that if we could get 6 Mile to drop the lawsuit, he would have influence with the city council to make sure that 6 Mile could develop down by the exit if they wanted to. So that's really, that's why I'm asking, who do you represent? Do you represent us or do you represent the Erda Community Association? Because in the past couple of weeks, it's looking a lot like you're not representing all of Erda at all. That the Erda Community Association is coming first. And now our tax dollars may go to pay their attorney. But Scott mentioned today in the county meeting, which it was nice of Craig and Scott to show up and take the heat for problems and to get the bad news that we're losing a lot of money and a lot of resources from the county because people were protecting the ECA. But so the ECA is going to pay for Janet to fight that lawsuit. So where does that money go? Where's that money coming from? You know, who's benefiting? And is that even legal for you guys to take basically a gift and have somebody else pay for Erda City's lawsuit? I don't know. I'm sure people in this room know more about that than me, but yeah, I'd like to see the contract. Is there a contract? Is there a cap? And who gets to give gifts and who gets to get favors? And so thanks for listening.
Anybody else?
None on mine.
We would close public comment.
Second?
Been moved and seconded, we close public comment. All in favor, say aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carries. We all had a moment to go through the meeting minutes from February 17th. Ready to approve those?
I made a change. I don't know if everybody- There was a question on that engineering company that I was gonna go pay the bill for that. And so I put in where it's WASAP Civil Consulting and Engineering Incorporated. Just go ahead and pay, so that's why I had it put in.
Terry talked to me about that, on the written minutes. I didn't hear him for the meeting. I said, question, and he filled that in and I confirmed it with him.
Great. That was my note today.
All right, well, I'll move that we go ahead and accept, approve those meeting minutes from 2/17.
Second?
And second that we approve those minutes. All in favor, say aye.
Aye. Aye.
Opposed? Approved. Okay. We'll go on to Finance Committee. Figure right here, we're gonna want to talk about the meeting.
We're still working on $30. We haven't received any taxpayer dollars today, so we're still been on our own, kind of our own pocket. But we do have an officially bonded treasurer.
Thank you, Terry.
0 plus 0 is only 0. Not all of us was invited to that meeting today, county, so.
Would you like to take a minute, Scott?
Yeah, so, the county is anxious to get the interlocking agreements done so that everything stops changing. They're gonna send us, they have volunteered to send us the money that we would receive in December next month. And the date was something like the 15th?
March 15th.
March the 15th. So that gives us some money to start up with. We're gonna have to be frugal with it because we're not gonna get money in December.
Well, half of it will go back to the law enforcement.
Yeah, and out of that money, we have to pay for the law enforcement, the roads, B&C road funds will pay for that, but we do have to pay for the sheriff's department. And and the sheriff's department, which pile am I looking at here, John?
The one with the red. This is
one that's underneath.
the one that I picked up this afternoon.
There we go. They were, a couple of weeks ago, talking about extending coverage in the sheriff's department, maybe to the end of the year. But today they pulled that back some.
Is it just July now?
Yeah, it's just July. I'll find the right page.
No, the initial term runs to September 30th.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, so we only have, so they shortened that up some.
I would correct and say the initial term runs to June 30th and it's extendable through September.
Right.
Initial term, January 1, 2022 through September 30th, 2022.
Yeah.
That doesn't line up with the payment option.
You're looking at the dispatch separately.
Oh, no, I'm looking at 6 months period.
Yes, so the
We have to
term
pay quarterly.
the term is from January 1st to September 30th. The payment for the first 6 months includes the dispatch fee. The payment in the next 3 months has a dispatch fee line item separately. But the term is through September 30th with any extension agreed upon by both parties.
They left that in?
They did.
It's interesting, they talked like they weren't gonna leave that in. We just barely got this.
Well,
from
this
the
is
county.
also not the final draft either.
This is not the final draft?
This is the final draft.
Okay.
This is, yes.
But we've only got till March 7th.
Right, I waited till 5:30 to pick this up.
Yeah, it's a good thing John was here today.
But somebody gets mad.
And we don't have to accept this, but if we don't accept it, midnight, March 8th, all services, everything from the county is over. So we either accept this as is.
Even solid waste?
No, solid waste is different issue.
I believe that the solid waste is one that me and Kel have handled well.
Yeah, they want us on the solid waste. So, anyway, they did make that change today also, that we can't accept part of it and not part of it. It's a package deal. I gave my opinion last week that we should accept the deal that they have given us. But unfortunately, Colin Winchester was in the hospital and wasn't available, so we didn't get it done. And they retracted.
And then they changed that March on the roads is a no-go, it's gotta be July.
It's July.
Yeah.
Yeah. It sounded like they were going to go with March or June, but then one of the council members said, yeah, but if we get a late season snowstorm and there's no snow plows and somebody's killed.
Didn't one of them want to stop at March 1st?
Yeah, they were talking about doing that, but it went to July 1st.
Unless somebody makes them mad.
Yeah, we need to get this signed before it gets smaller. And thanks, John, for waiting for this, so that we've got this in our hands. Okay. Is that what you need from me?
Yes, thank you.
Now, the other financial deal is, I want to remind everybody that's paid out of pocket. We need to send, we'll get a copy of the bill to me, plus we need to send a copy to Dave Sanders. Sanderson. So that we can be on the list that if we ever get money, we can get reimbursed. Why are you looking at me? I gotta do it too. Mine's more than yours.
Judge, you want me to take a minute and kind of go through what I think the deal was?
Okay.
It's a little confusing because they have an A and a B option. So they've agreed to front our property taxes in the amount of about $362,000. They'll be paid about March 15th. They've also agreed to front us, it's our money, it's Erda's money, but they're collecting it because the tax commission can't make a change fast enough. They'll pay or remit to us a sales tax from January 3 or January 4 through June 30, okay? Those are a done thing. Those are not negotiable with the county, those are done. Then they came up with a proposal that if we do not accept, and this is how I read it, if we do not accept either option A or option B, all services terminate March 8th. Now, I don't think the sheriff is gonna not come for a 911 call. But I mean, that's a policy decision you guys have to make. They also want an indemnification provision. So these are in all the options. I'm disturbed by it, but you just have to decide whether you can live with it. We indemnify them for everything except for their gross negligence or intentional acts. So if it's just a regular negligence, we'll indemnify them. And Terry hit it on the spot. What happens if they let a snowplow driver drive a snowplow drunk or haven't had enough sleep? Could be our problem.
Unless we can make the claim that it's gross negligence to not check that driver before he gets in that truck.
Our insurance should cover that type of problem if it does fall back on the city.
Answer to that is yes and no. Likely, since we've got a trust, they'll cover it. But if you had somebody other than the trust, they may say it's not covered because it's a contractual liability. Indemnification is a contractual liability. Insurance doesn't cover contractual obligations.
So it's a good thing we have the trust.
I hope the trust backs.
Yeah.
We gotta trust the trust.
We gotta trust the trust.
He said he would.
All right, they also request a non-disclosure agreement. That we won't disclose information about contract services and discussions we'd have about TWILA in a closed meeting. Okay, we'll live by the law, okay, that's no problem. They want us to have liability insurance, which we will. We have right now.
We do. Yeah.
We have a binder this time.
Yeah.
And this will all be documented by the interlocal, which I'll draft.
John, this non-disclosure, will you explain that a little more? That's pretty much saying don't talk about things that happen in a closed meeting.
That's exactly what it means.
Which is already a law.
Which is already a law.
So saying follow the law.
Follow the law. Yeah, it was a big point to one of the members of the county council when I was talking to him one-on-one, and so it found its way in here. So, yeah, we'll comply with the law. We'll promise not to shoot anybody or.
Especially somebody didn't comply in the past. That's what.
Oh, I don't know, I'm not gonna say that.
That's why they.
So then we have, proposal A. The proposal A is we don't take any of the services except solid waste.
With a 6 month and a 5.5 year option.
Right. Those are things you're gonna have to think about, what makes the best sense for Erda. Now, I can tell you what likely will make the best sense for Erda is to get out of it, enter into your own agreement with the waste company.
Do you think we can get it for this price?
It'll cost you nothing.
Fuel's $5 a gallon then. So.
It'll probably cost you a little more.
So why?
I don't know how much it'll cost you, but it'll be just negotiation.
Why will that be better?
Because we'll have to do our own billing. It's likely, and I'm just coming up with numbers off the top of my head, and these are not accurate, these are just illustration. Let's say we charge residents $25 a month for garbage, and the garbage company will pick them up for $20. The reason Tooele County, I believe, wants this.
I get you now.
Is they're getting the difference. And if we drop out, everybody else in all of Tooele County is going to say, "Whoa, what did they do to us?" Everybody will be paying more. Anyway, that's a decision you get to make. Policy decision. Okay, that's a proposal A. Now proposal B. Solid waste, same 2 time periods that we talked about. Roads, they'll maintain the roads from January to June 30. And we need to make payments out of the money that we get. But it's gonna be, I think this one is gonna be, now this is gonna be B&C road money. So they're gonna issue or submit the B&C road application on our behalf, and it's gonna be approved by our city engineer. The money will come into our PTIP account, and then we'll pay them If we have extra money, we get to keep it. If it's short, we have to make it up.
Erda bucks, they take their.
They don't take very much.
Estimated BNC road funds is approximately $120,000 for the first 6 months, and they're gonna charge us
103. Right. So then there's law enforcement. They will provide the same level of service. So there's really two components here. One is the actual law enforcement services, and there's dispatch. So for the first time period from January to June, the two will be connected. So we'll have to make one payment. After June to whenever we terminate, we'll have to make two payments. One to Tooele County for the legal service, or for the law enforcement services, and then one for the dispatch services. The term is through September 30, so it's January 1 to September 30. And then they can be extended to actually no. That's dispatch service, sorry, I was misreading. So, and the payment is the interesting thing. So the old proposal is we had 10 years to pay that money back. They took that away. So this new proposal is we have to pay 30 days after the end of the quarter for those services. Except for the first one, and we pay for 6 months. So we're not going to have as much money around. And if we don't pay, they'll not give us the services. But they'll give us a notice of default. Of course, there's an administrative fee that they talked about and the service fee. And that those are your options. You have 3 options. Tell them to take a hike, then we're on our own, A or B. Well, I think let's talk about it and maybe decide if they want a decision. We would have to decide probably at our next week's meeting which one we're going to do.
Deadline's the 7th still.
Yeah, deadline's still the 7th. Next meeting's on the 1st. That will be decided.
Is that right?
I think
29, 30.
it's on the 1st.
So the 3rd,
Oh,
because there's 28 days of February.
Oh, that's right. What a guy.
This is February.
You must be a processor. 30 days. So we oughta, let's, at that next meeting, let's put it on the agenda.
We'll have to
Think about it.
Yeah, we'll have to sign it that night or not.
We'll have to approve it. Approve it.
But if we approve it, you can sign it, or we can sign it.
Yeah, well, I can tell you, I will drive a lot faster than Colin. Maybe we don't know.
Is there anyone think we shouldn't talk about this tonight and give John a week to get a resolution put together?
I'll do whatever you want.
Can we do it without having it on the agenda?
You can give me direction, and I'll put a resolution or ordinance.
I'm happy to talk about this. I'm not sure if I'm decided on a couple of things.
What's your reservations?
2 things that are disappointing. There's nothing we can do about them, so it's just talking into the wind here, but Craig and I, in last meeting, had discussed taking a little risk with the weatherman and pocketing some of those BNC road funds to try to put into our own equipment. If we could terminate roads agreement with the early, middle of March or something. It was a risk, but it gave us money to buy equipment. And it looks like that's completely off the table. If we go with this road agreement, it's gonna go all the way through June 30th.
It's all or nothing, right?
All or nothing.
Well, we could go back and ask them, but
I don't think we should.
Be very happy.
I don't think we should.
I was in that meeting and I can tell you, we will get nothing by going back and ask. I think it was made perfectly clear that this is the end agreement. They passed the resolution saying that this was what they were saying it was. I don't see that being done now.
So a little fuzzy math tells me we have approximately $170,000 to buy trucks with and plow next winter. If we're only using DNC road funds.
Or contracted.
There's an option on the second ridge.
We are going to be very, very tight on the roads. To say the least, we'll be extremely tight on the roads.
Okay, that's all I had to say. I think the sheriff's agreement looks good.
And we'll start looking for a truck right away. Because there's a couple of them for sale.
Can one truck do it?
Well,
That's an honest question.
I don't know. I don't actually know. I've never plowed snow.
Well, if you went by the feasibility study back in the answer, they said they would lose, the guy that was in charge at that time was one.
Just one truck.
I can tell you Stockton had one truck. And ask anyone who lives in Stockton how well having one truck works.
You got a truck driver,
And the problem with one truck is they're notorious for breaking down.
If we're buying used, it's gonna break down.
Yeah. And if it won't start or it's broken down the day it snows, you don't have any snowplows. Well, we have
Sounds like 2 is the minimum.
40, how many miles, Sarah, miles of road here?
43
43?
Right now, it's,
of paved. I think it's 43.13.
We'll call it 43. 43 miles of center line roads. That's
exactly, 41.06 of paved,
Double it.
1.34 of gravel, and 0.73 of dirt, to total 43.13.
41 miles of roads. That just got doubled, but that's center line miles.
Yeah, yeah.
And this may go up, because all they're waiting for is the deed to 138 to the county, and then we'll assume some of that as well.
So we're gonna have over 80 miles of road to plow.
But
Snow plows don't run fast.
oh, we need going both ways.
Right.
But I did find out how we do that when one city's on one side and another city's on the other side. They divide it in miles, so one city will do like 2 miles, and the other city will do under 2 miles.
Well, I'm saying we're at over 80 miles of road to plow. If the snow plow could average 20 miles an hour, which it can't, because it has to stop, then it has to go down a little, that's 4 hours.
We haven't seen Scott drive.
No. He's a salt truck, not a snow plow. Plus he's snow plow.
Hey, I'll just put the salt down before.
Plus, they have to go after salt. It would be an all-day experience for one truck to plow 3 inches of snow. And on a day where you get 8 inches of snow, it won't be plowed for 2 days.
And like I said, the other option is contracting out. We got a couple of.
Did we ever hear back from those guys?
I gave it the number to you.
I never did hear from them. Are they gonna
Did
call
you
me or
email
was I calling them?
You're calling them.
Yeah, those are options.
Like, we got time, I mean.
Those are options that we're going to have to look at, is contracting our road maintenance out or doing it ourselves.
Whichever one fits the budget better.
It's gonna take some time, and luckily we have some time.
Very few of them except for the vote.
We'll have something for them by then. I look at it solid waste.
Can we stop on the roads just for 1
Oh,
second?
you bet.
So, all right, so if we go with option B, we're locked into 6 months of road services.
Correct.
There are a lot of Erda roads that need attention.
That occurred to me too.
But they're not on the schedule.
We're probably not on any schedule. Doesn't seem very fair to me.
So here's my thought on that. After we get this signed, then we need to talk to Jed. Say, look, you're abandoning us in 4 months. Is there some way you can get some of these things done before?
And we could even get some further city signs. So we all our boundaries.
I think the county roads department will work with us. I've seen nothing to say that they won't.
Well, the meeting Jess and I was at.
Jed's great.
I wouldn't expect anything less out of them than to work with us and work with us well. And I think they would do their part in maintaining our roads through the end of June. If the option of going with that or being on our own April or March 8th, saying no, and we'll just take it on our own March 8th.
Well, it's police and.
But yeah,
That's police, roads, and garbage, as I read this. There is no option A. It's only taking option B.
And it has its own budget, so it doesn't really come out.
Money's gonna be tight, money's gonna be extremely tight on everything we do. So there's not a question about that. Not accepting this, and taking the garbage for 5.5 years, John's right. If we did it ourselves, it could be a revenue stream, but it's going to cost our people more money, a lot more money, for us to make a little less, and I don't think that's right either.
Plus, it seems to me, it's just kind of like trying to jab the county a little bit. It doesn't make any sense.
Yeah, that's why we don't do it.
I mean, if I had to propose anything, I would propose that we accept we have John draft a resolution accepting their proposal B. And figuring out where our money is and go from there.
So proposal B with the first check mark, which is roads for 6 months, law enforcement for 9 months, and
a
garbage collection.
Solid waste, 5.5 years, yes.
Solid waste collection.
Solid waste.
I think that.
It gives us the highest level of service to our constituents at the lowest cost right now.
I agree.
that was my opinion last week, and it's still my opinion. I'm kind of stuck.
So can you draft as a resolution for next week?
I will.
Thank you.
Should we have a motion and vote?
Is that what we need?
So moved.
Yeah, just go ahead. Let me see. Okay, so what we're voting on is option B, first check mark. That should be good enough. Okay. So we have a motion to vote on option B, first check mark. Is there a second?
Second.
Well, the motion is direct me to bring back.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
The motion is direct with this check. Right.
Yeah.
Second. Is there a second?
Second.
Been moved and seconded. We ask for proposed, what is it?
Resolution.
Resolution will come back that we're accepting the first option. All in favor, please say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Like we have 5 votes for that. Okay. I know what to do.
Do you just want copies of them?
We got more.
Who was the second on that?
I was.
There's like 5.
There was many.
Okay, Paul, for the minutes, I had Craig is making a motion. You can't say, you know, it's who do you guys want me to put in?
Terry seconded it.
Okay.
John, while we're still on finance and talking about the county,
Okay. Is there anything you would like to share about what transpired in our closed meeting last Thursday?
There's been a lot of discussion about hiring Janet to represent Erda. So I'm just gonna go through the analysis. And then you guys can decide whether it was good or bad, but they made the decision. So first of all, to be clear, this is a lawsuit against Erda. This is not Erda suing anybody else. This is a lawsuit against Erda. So if we do nothing, we lose. So, we're not suing them, they're suing us. Second, Janet is a good litigator, and she's got good skills. Flat down. Number 3, the action involves issues that she's already litigated. So she doesn't really need a lot of education on these issues. 4th, she has all the facts in her head. And they're not going to be able to pull a fast one or pull a trick on some facts that are not accurate. Probably 5th and most important, ECA has agreed to pay her fee. And it is legal because we have a joint defense agreement with her, and there's a waiver of the conflict. We went through that. And there's a provision in the bar rules that allows a third party to pay for litigation fees. And we just follow the rules. And we have no money. You can see what's going on here. We won't have any money until March 15th. And our answer is due before then.
Not to mention, John, that all of us would be uncomfortable spending that money.
What you got to say? And I heard a couple of times today, let's just have the AG represent us. The AG will not represent us. The AG represents Lieutenant Governor.
Is this all directed at Ms. Higgins? Because you're looking right at her the whole time.
I'm just talking to that.
I'm just curious. You're looking right at her the whole time.
Okay, I'll look this way.
I'm just curious because it looks like it's being directed right at her.
So, Lieutenant Governor, the AG will not represent us. They won't represent us appropriately. We're gonna have our own attorney. Because this is a life or death. We lose, Erda's death. So based upon that, I recommended to the council to retain her to represent us, and it was unanimous. I can say that Scott, or Craig recused himself and let that close meeting. He didn't vote on that issue.
Is that not a no vote?
No.
Thank you, John. All right, we ready to move on to land use and zoning? We kind of discussed this a little bit before the meeting, but we talked about taking Jake's recommendations on the fee schedule for conditional use permits, specifically regarding ADUs, and we were going to talk about subdivision applications. I just sent Jake a text asking him for clarification on those. I hope to send them back soon. My recollection of the discussion with him was the county's fee schedule for an ADU is $300. Barry's recollection is it was $150.
Well, no, it's always yesterday, Scott, it was 150 and he recommended we double it.
Yeah, he says we're gonna end up losing money if we don't.
Yeah, and that's what he said. I guarantee you're gonna lose money if you don't increase these fees. Because the county is set up, they have their whole department there. It comes in, says, I have to pull someone off the job and go to it. Says, if you don't charge more than them, you're going to lose money. I don't think at this point in time is right for the city to be losing money on this.
And for the city council.
And he thought nearly double what the county charged might be a good place to start. And then if it is making money, we can always go down. Because I fear that if you try to raise them just a little bit, you will be going in the hole and going in the hole fast.
He told Scott I double it, whatever
He also said that the conditional use permit for gravel pits, which we're not allowing right now anyway, is $1,000. He said, but that won't even come close to the engineering review for a gravel pit. Said much like subdivision reviews, you're gonna lose money if you try doing it at the same level the county's doing it currently. In discussion with him, double what the county's current fees are, we won't lose money. We likely will make a little bit, but not much. So
precisely our goal.
Yeah, and he says he's had a lot of applications come in for ADUs already. He's been turning them away so far because we don't have established fee. And what he's asking for is that we come to some kind of conclusion on what that fee should be and allow him to draft a permit and send it to John and have John review it and see what he thinks.
Do we need to have a motion on that, John, or can we just? We're already contracted with this guy. He wants to draft a.
I'm okay with that, just what's the number?
We don't know the number yet.
Okay.
It's either 300 or 600.
And if you want to come back to that, I think he'll send me he was looking at it, so he'll send me the number shortly.
Okay, let's talk about subdivision applications.
I don't have a number for subdivision applications either. And me and him were talking about it, no less than 2 hours ago, but all the numbers kind of floated away.
Okay. All right, well, if you get a text, we'll circle back to that. General plan discussion, planning commission recommendation. So, if I can get to it, we have a formal recommendation from our planning commission. It was their second vote that they ever did. As we recommend that the city council engage the services of SOMAS as soon as possible to begin the work of preparing a general plan. As part of this recommendation, we ask that you encourage them to attend the Erda ordinance discussion series, which begins this Friday. So we have a recommendation from the planning commission to engage with SOMAS.
All right, we met with SOMAS, they talked with us, they gave us a quote of $25,000 to do the general plan. I believe that everybody has been sent the draft Tulsa County general plan. It hasn't been adopted by them yet. It has an Erda City element in it already. Some things that we like, some things we don't like. I would, and we asked John, we can adopt it by reference if we so choose. I think we ought to send it to our planning commission, have them review it first before we go spend $25,000 to start over. I think would be certainly right now money well ahead to send it to the planning commission, let them do a review of it before we engage SOMAS and spend $25,000 if we don't have to.
Is there any estimate on ETA for the final?
For the county's final? I'm guessing within a couple of weeks.
On the agenda next meeting.
So it should be finalized. We have the draft. Corey, did we put that on the planning commission to start looking at next week?
It's on the agenda.
I just didn't have one fine tune for this up instead of something the county can.
I would say so too. I think it needs to be individualized to Erda. I don't think that they would come up with the same result.
I think it would be likely the same result, or use all the same data points. That's why it's $25,000 instead of $125,000.
So we'll leave it up to the planning and zone, whatever.
So how hard is it to alter that?
In his discussion here with us, he thought it would be 6 months. They would have to go in and look at it. They would have to hold their own public hearings again. And then once they get it to that point, then they start working with our planning commission. The county has been working on this one for over a year.
Then they only have 50 people show up or something.
It was less than that. I don't think there was good enough public
Yeah,
participation.
he was saying they can do minimal changes for that 25,000 and then hold a big party at the drive-in theater.
Yeah, it was.
So if we itemize a couple of things that we really don't like, they could take those out and we'd still get the same.
They could. Now my question.
Because it has to go through the public process.
My question for
Which
John.
I hate to spend the money, but I think we have to do
I
that.
see.
My question for John is, can we modify it from the counties, or do we have to adopt it as whole?
You can do whatever you want with it, but you have to go through the process.
Right, and that's what I'm saying.
You gotta have somebody that has control of that map. they can make changes to it.
That's
And
what
I
I'm
think that's
saying.
what Jess is asking.
Let's send this to our planning commission. Let them make modifications to it. We don't need to do a new traffic and a new safety. It's all in there. It already has Erda element in it. The maps drawn with the Erda boundary in it. Let's send it to our planning commission, let them make the minor changes to the maps and send it back to us.
Should be some major changes if we get stuck with the phone. And change the safety quite a bit.
I don't think that railroad will change a thing on that map, because everything over there.
Change the safety issue.
What do you think of that, John?
There's safety issue.
I'm not sure.
Technical question. All I've ever seen is a PDF with some kind of called medium resolution images. Have our planning commission work on that. Is there a real?
I do not have a big one, but we can have one made.
There's an entire document, about 75 pages, has all the data. It's probably proprietary data. It's someone's just pilot from someone's size. It's an entire copyrighted document.
That answers my question.
And it's available on the public website of the county.
Okay.
So if that's the case, can we not modify it, John?
You can modify it.
But only if we hire someone?
No, well, if they've got a copyright, then you take it and start messing with it. You violated copyright.
So if they copyrighted it, then that could be a problem. Unless we,
And you could, if you want to have somebody else's skills, they can take it and do it themselves, and then they keep working on the copyright. Or you can just take a piece of paper, draw it.
Okay, so we've had a recommendation from the planning commission. We need to respond. So what is our response?
Recommendation from them, or recommendation to send it to them?
they have recommended that we hire Somos.
Really?
They did.
Have they seen it? Will we show them?
I don't know if they've seen it or read it or looked at it at all.
Sorry, what's the question?
Has the planning commission seen and read the draft general plan?
I would say no. I know that a link was sent and there may be some members, but as a whole, the planning commission has not. We're in the official meeting here. The answer is no.
Okay. So I think what we're trying to come up with is a motion here to go ahead and send this back to you guys for a more complete review and
Other options.
and then you can respond back with your recommended path forward. See if I can spit that out again. The chair moves that we respond to the planning commission to review the draft general plan. We're assuming the final is going to be pretty close.
So, yeah.
And come up with a list of proposed changes. And then we'll decide if we're going to engage Somas after that.
Because if the changes are too extensive, we're gonna probably have to hire someone. But if they're just minor, we can just do it ourselves. We have to go through the public process. But
It has to go through, planning and zoning, it has to have hearings on it.
yeah, that's county, city, and state code that we have to go through.
All land use stuff has to go through public hearing.
Yep.
So we're going to need a second on that.
A second.
It's been moved and seconded that we send this back to, that we respond to the planning commission, ask them to do a more thorough review of the general plan that the county has and give us more specific recommendations and changes. All in favor, say aye.
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 And are there any opposed? Motion carries. Looks like you've got some texts in front of you.
I do have some numbers in front of me.
Okay.
So the county currently charges $300 for a standard conditional use permit, $8,000 for a gravel pit conditional use permit, and $100 for a home occupation general, or conditional use permit. $5.
Sorry, what's a home occupation? Is that the business?
If you have a nursery in your home, or any kind of small business in your home. And with Jake's recommendation of doubling all those to cover the costs, I think I would take his recommendation. Let's go with it, and if it turns out that we're just making a lot of money, maybe we lower them. But I would hate to only raise them $50 or $100 and then be losing money on these also. Because I don't think that's right compared to the rest of the residents of Erda.
Okay, so what does that look like? Do we need to ask Jake to go ahead and come up with his, we need to adopt the fee for conditional use. Is this only pertaining to ADUs or is this all conditional use?
That's all conditional uses, although the rest of them are not allowed yet.
Because home occupation is a conditional.
It is.
So are we recommending a $200 fee there?
I would recommend doubling all of them. Standard conditional use permits, $600, gravel permits, $8,000, and home occupations is $200 as our fee schedule.
Did you say $8,000 for gravel pits?
No, I said 2,000 for gravel pits.
Okay.
But from our side of the town, that sounds like.
It does, and a person could put $2,000 plus engineering costs in that if you want. Or whatever, I would be open to that. But this is just a fee schedule for applying. The fee schedule for subdivisions, he has not sent me. As I remember, it was $500 for an application, $50 per lot for a preliminary, and 3% of the build out. 500 for final was
I think I
$500.
can clarify this. On that majestic view subdivision, 39 lots, the preliminary fee was like 23 or 2,400, and I can give you exact. And the final was like 35 or 36, because I just paid it to them, like, well, 4 or 5 months ago.
And so, yeah, that puts it right in the same ballpark. The 3% covers all your infrastructure inspections. But I don't know that.
It doesn't sound like we're ready to recommend the subdivision.
I don't think we are tonight either. But the conditional use permits, I think we could set that.
So what's our next step?
We have to approve the fees, and then we have to approve letting Jake draw up the documents with John Brennan's approval.
The one he was talking to you and I about, wasn't that the additional housing deal?
That's an ADU.
Yeah, so he's talking about the ADUs. He's had a lot of,
He's had several of those.
He's had multiple applications for that
and
already.
that's the one he was talking about was 150, and he recommended it for 300.
No, he just sent me the text, it's $300.
Maybe.
And he recommended it be $600.
300, okay. Because he's been telling them no, because we didn't have a fee or whatever. Yeah, so he's getting swamped with them.
So I'm gonna move that we go ahead and adopt double the current county fees on these. And
You can give me what those numbers are.
so 300 for conditional use. We're gonna double that.
So it's gonna be 600.
It's gonna be 600, so I'll give you the double number.
Okay.
200 for home occupation,
So maybe we gotta write like this, $600 for conditional use, with the exception of home occupations, $200, and gravel pits, $2,000.
But if we're not allowing gravel pits, why should we even have a fee for it?
Don't allow whole occupation either, so no fee needed.
You want to allow it?
But you do allow animal increases, so you have to get that fee.
I don't know if it will or won't be allowed. There's actually some ground I would hope to annex into, or that has gravel pits in it. Don't know if that'll happen or not, but I'd sure like to have them in our city.
Okay. If you want me to drop the fee schedule, I'll modify it and bring it back.
And
So I move that we adopt a $600 conditional use permit fee accepting home occupations, which would be a $200, and a $2,000 gravel pit fee. And in this same motion, we're going to request that Jake draw up the application for these.
What about the animal condition,
Let's finish this motion.
And it needs John Brennan approval.
And then as it comes back, this will be.
So I'll bring it back next week and amend it, the ordinance, putting these fees. Is that what you're trying to do?
I don't know.
Yes.
Yes, that's what we're trying to do.
Yeah. Okay, so we need a second on that,
Second.
and then we'll call the vote. As moved. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Any opposed?
We do allow the animal conditional use permit. What's the fee for with the county?
We have not allowed that yet. Right now, it's $300 for the county, and the only conditional use permits, no, we did allow animal conditional use permits. Yes, if someone wants one for $600, they can go permit, set in their application for the permit.
Yeah, I remember that way.
Yeah.
Anything else for land use and zoning committee? All right, moving on to roads. Is there anything to add there?
I already gave all the information with the new thing they're gonna submit. The only thing that is a question is checking on that gravel part, where we lost the mile of gravel.
Terry and I are having a hard time coming up where this gravel roads are and the dirt road. We're not sure where they are.
We were talking about that. The only gravel, there's a little bit of on Blossom Lane, but Kel said 12th West, there by the riding arena, that's gravel.
Going north.
Going north.
Is that gravel?
And then,
And that's a city road?
that is a city road. But it also goes all the way through to Highway 138, and that must be the dirt part, where it goes through the Walters and stuff. Where the rest of it is, I don't know.
That's the city road all the way through to 138.
Yes.
Well, my thing is, we lost a lot, but we didn't gain anything. So,
Maybe they just remeasured it.
Jake's checking on that.
When they stepped it off, someone had a longer stride.
Okay, we'll move on to police. We've got a resolution in front of us, 22-07, a resolution approving a contract with Travis Stephen Romney as the City of Erda Chief of Police. I've got this resolution. It's boilerplate. It says we have just approved the contract, but you should have the contract. I'll go through some of the highlights on this contract. Employer is in need of a police department and a police chief. Employee is willing to establish a police department and to serve as its police chief. Employee understands that his employment is at will and the employee has no appeal rights because he is police chief of the municipality as contemplated by Utah Code Section 10-3-1105. 1 little c little I. Term of employment, employee's term of employment by an employer shall begin on the effective date hereof and shall terminate as provided herein. Services means establishing a police force for the employer to begin operation no later than October 1st, 2022, and serving the police chief, municipality, and no such other duties and responsibilities. Oh, I'm sorry, I added a word there. Police chief of the municipality and such other duties and responsibilities as directed by the employer from time to time. This is on the Utah Public Notice website. I'll skip over salary. Beginning October 1st, 2022, employers shall pay an employee an annual salary of $75,939.20. We're going to make deductions for FICA, that sort of thing. The employee shall be entitled without loss of compensation to take time off with pay as provided in the manual. Defined below, time off with pay may be taken in the manual.
So can I observe what we
Yes.
have to adopt the manual, the employee manual, personnel manual?
Which he has offered to draft for us, but maybe you have another one we could follow from. I'm not going to read all of this. I'll need to talk about those websites. Travis Romney is currently Stockton's chief of police. He reached out to me but he says it's hard as an Erda, and I believe him. He's offered to volunteer his time to build our police department from scratch. His proposal, which we discussed in depth last week, is just under our budget proposed by the feasibility study. However, I will grant that it is more than we're currently getting from the county. I don't think that can be helped. We have a firm severance from the county on police services. So this is something we will need to address. Travis comes at the highest recommendations. Two mainly are Judge Ron Powell has recommended him, as well as Sheriff Whitaker. So anyway, we've got this proposal in front of us to sign this agreement with Travis, basically allowing him to go ahead and start volunteering for the service, or for the city, building that police department, filing for the numbers and codes and things that need to be done, and with a start date of October 1st. Any discussion on this?
So it seems to me like Travis is the best option. But Terry and I were going back and forth on this. Do we have to advertise this before we hire him?
You do not.
Like I said, we already kind of went through that when,
We
on
haven't,
the county one, we
we
talked
haven't
about.
advertised for any individuals.
The Twilla City Policeman didn't want to do it, the Danceville didn't want to do it, we talked about a town marshal, decided no, we decided the best way was to hire the Twilla County. Now that they're out of it, we're just replacing the Twilla County with this guy.
And we're staring down a very fast deadline. We gotta give somebody enough time to get the proper police department set up.
Travis says it's gonna take 4 to 6 months to get everything filed for.
But then as far as his officers go, that'll go with the Scott and Craig will be part of that hiring process,
That's correct.
as far as the employees go.
I'm on that committee.
Yeah, and you're there on the police committee with me.
Oh, the police committee,
I,
not the hiring committee.
I might be a minority voice here, but I don't think I've run all my options out. I haven't been able to talk with many of the people in the county, for various reasons, mostly because no one would, well, after they were sued, they said, no, we're done talking. And when we said we wouldn't, someone said we wouldn't file or sign non-disclosure, they said, no, we can't talk with you. I still have other options open, other than starting our own police force. And I don't know exactly what those look like and what those cost, but there are other options available to us, and the county council has been open to them. Like having the sheriff's department do our felony policing, and then having our own marshal or policeman take care of the misdemeanor, traffic violations, stuff like that, and doing them part-time.
My only concern is, what if they get mad? And just like they're kind of doing, saying, well, we may have said that before, but we're taking all that back, and we're on our own.
Once you have the interlock agreement with them, they can't. That's what I'm saying. I need some time to talk with them to get some of these agreements put together, but I haven't been able to talk with them.
But up to this point, we selected the county, and that was a done deal. There was no other option.
Well, we selected the county knowing that was going to be the best option.
We're against the clock.
It's gone, so now I need to look at other options. Travis himself has said it's gonna take 4 to 6 months. Well, we're 7 and almost half months away from that deadline that may be extended.
He's already started.
He's been doing work, and he's good. I mean, don't take anything I'm saying against Travis, because he is very highly recommended, and he might very well be who I would support wholeheartedly. But I don't know what our budget is. None of us really know what our budget is yet. We know that going with him is gonna cost $103,000 to start up. And we know that it's about a $320,000 a year budget. That's $420,000 in the first year that I don't have. There is no way we're gonna have that kind of money. We're gonna be taking a pretty heavy loan somewhere to set this up. I think we need to take our foot off the gas for 4 to 6 weeks. Let me come up with some options, and maybe even advertise this so we don't get someone coming back after us. If we decide to go with the police chief and our own force, by all means, let's do that. And I think Travis is a clear front runner, based solely off of the recommendations from people who work with him that I trust.
Well, he said he's willing to work with us as well.
And yeah, but I really think the best thing to do for everyone in Erda City is to table this while I look at some other options. And if we can do a part-time police force and have the county do our felony stuff for us at a fraction of the cost, that's something we need to look at.
I just don't trust the county anymore.
I'm with Terry on that one.
That's unusual.
That,
It's a mutual feeling. They said multiple times they don't trust us.
But they go by hearsay, like he said, she said, and all that stuff. They don't care about facts.
Well, they might even argue the same thing.
They would say that.
It's, I would like at minimum 1 month to see if I can come up with some kind of agreement. Somewhere. I don't think we're doing a service to our constituents if we don't look at these options. I seriously think we're doing them a disservice if we don't look at options that could potentially save us $100,000 or a couple $100,000.
See, I think if this was a month ago, I totally agree with you, but we're looking at a deadline that's fast approaching, and public safety is not something we put at risk here. We've got to get a police service figured out. If it takes this long, we need to get this guy on the job as soon as possible, I think.
Well, that's true, but we know we have the sheriff till September 30th, which is 7.5 months away.
And we knew we couldn't afford that. with our stuff. That's why they offered a loan to try to pay what the stuff they know we could pay. And now the loan's off the table, right?
The loan is off the table, which puts us in even a harder financial place, which leads me to believe that we need to do what we can to get the best services we can at the most reasonable cost. I'm saying it's give some time to get some options. If we don't have other options, then by all means, let's go with Travis, because he is very qualified and very good, but.
So what if we did this? The interlocking agreement's gonna be signed by the 7th. That's how many days from now? That's only about 12 days from now.
I don't know if it'll be signed, but we'll have committed to it.
If once the resolutions are done, a week from today, I believe that we can start.
So I don't think we ought to approach the county until we have those signed, until we have those firm. So if we took that 10 days or 12 days and waited, we need to inform Travis what we're doing. But then only take another couple of weeks and investigate if there are some options for us.
What's changed from last week? Did I sleep through that whole thing? I mean, the whole thing about Travis was discussed and the thing was, and there was not one complaint.
I don't think there's
no other actions, no nothing. It was just like, okay, the county's not doing it. Here's our guy to do it now. We went through that for about a half hour talking about.
I don't think there's a complaint.
And all of a sudden now it's a
No,
problem.
Travis gave us the proposal. Once again, I mean, he's done a great job on it, but I think moving forward with it is too soon.
I think you said it's last week.
Yeah, I think,
Because we weren't voting on a resolution talking about that, moving forward with him immediately.
I mean, if I was Travis, the wavering going on, it would make me nervous to put all this work in, then we waver on it again.
My concern is Travis has kind of hung himself out to dry for us. This was his choice to do, not ours. So he's taking a risk, and it's his risk to take. But he is, in order to be able to move positions like this, he's got to really put himself out there. He's told us, and I believe him, how much he's willing to do for Erda. Kind of like we are, we're all donating our time here. He's willing to donate a lot of time and effort. And I would not want to take all of that goodwill for granted and waver and waffle here. And so I hear some wanting to table this. And I'm hearing some wanting to go ahead and go to a vote. We could bring the table to a vote and see how that goes. I'm not going to vote to table it. I want to give Travis an answer, yes or no.
How do you feel about the money? It really worries me.
I didn't work with this.
But does that mean he'll
That
liquidate
might,
without
what I'm saying
checks?
is that might mean just one officer instead of two, or it might mean this or that. I mean, none of that is a solid deal yet. There's still room to negotiate.
From day one, we've known that Erda was going to be behind 1 year all of our taxes. Well, property taxes anyway. We've always known that in order for the city of Erda to succeed, it was going to need to take a loan to cover that first year, and it would need time to pay that back slowly. We thought we had a small loan worked out with the county, but that had been pulled off the table. So we're going to have to look elsewhere for that.
And let me tell you one of the reasons that finance really worries about me. No, I said that backwards, didn't I? The one reason I really worry about the finances. I spoke with a guy from the Bank of Utah, and he had a series of questions for me to answer and send back to him. And one of them was, are there any legal challenges to with a corporation or any lawsuits or, and so I said, well, yeah, there is one that, and I haven't heard a word from him in 4 weeks. It's like, he's not even gonna talk to him.
Untouchable. So that
Yeah, he's not even gonna talk to me. So I worry about the finances. I don't wanna put Travis in a
So
position where he's ready to go.
Whether he's worth it or not,
And we don't have money.
and whether he's ready to go or not, I would love to have a house on Malibu Beach. And if it was $10 million, it might be worth every dime of that. But if I simply can't afford it, then I shouldn't be signing my name on a contract for it until I know where I'm at.
We can't afford what we got. So where do you draw the line?
That's gonna be interesting, but we don't even know where we're at, what we can afford yet. The county today is talking about, our sales tax coming in. And they fear that it's not what's projected. They've been working with the state auditor and said it could be considerably lower than what was projected. I don't know if they're right or
Never
not.
did an amount, so. Well, that's still make it.
Feasibility study.
Yeah, but there's, him and the state auditor have determined that maybe the feasibility study was not particularly close. What it is, we still don't know, but it could be to the tune of a couple $100,000 short in 1 year. I'm uncomfortable signing a contract or a resolution signing a contract for a startup cost of $103,000 and an annual budget of another $320,000. A contract basically for $425,000 almost, when I know I don't have that kind of money. I guarantee we will not have anywhere near that kind of money in year one.
We won't have the 300 that it's costing now, it's the county state on.
No, we might not even have that, but it's still $160,000 or $80,000 closer than where we were. And all I'm asking is, give me a month to come up with some options. If there aren't any other options, then by all means, let's move forward.
If he starts a month later, I think we need to give him time to do what he needs to do, and he needs to know he has our support.
I agree. But what if we go ahead with it and he starts doing this work and we get down to maybe even only June or July and we have to say, so there's a problem, Travis. We don't have the money.
So I would, that's where I was gonna try to go with this, is I've asked John is, do we bail out of this at any time? And the answer is yes. Now, that would be a rotten thing to do.
Yeah.
That would be.
That's gonna leave him hanging.
So.
That would be the worst possible scenario for him.
I think we vote on this, we give Travis an answer. If we get the votes, he knows that he has the city behind him with the condition that we're able to fund it. And if July starts rolling around and things aren't looking good, we can talk to him.
Yeah.
As long, and he's got a place to sign over here too. He's got to sign accepting those conditions. This is us voting to hand this to him. And that'll be his decision to make at that time.
So essentially we're saying, we really want you, but you gotta understand, there's a chance we may not be able to afford it.
And he can make that decision, whether he likes that or not. Wants to take the risk. I don't think we should waver our trust in him though, and I feel like that he might take this if we were to vote no past that. It would make me nervous that I'd be willing to put all this work into it. I mean, like, do I have the support? Do I not have the support?
When you're in the private sector, you want to leave a job, you do not tell your current employer you're it's just something you don't do. Travis has had to do that in order to provide us what he has.
Really?
That goes a long ways for me.
Yeah, he had to tell them.
And don't stop him.
Well, in order to stand in front of this city, give us this proposal, talk to us.
Better they find out that way than seeing it on Facebook.
Yeah.
So I'm ready to vote on this resolution.
In the resolution, does it spell that out for Travis? That we may not have the money?
I think in the contract, I put a provision in there that funds are not available beyond June 30, 2022.
Before he signs it, whoever takes it to, I'm not recommending it's Jess out of. Yeah, or John. I'll let him know that what the risks are with this.
But if we have.
If we vote this up tonight, we ought to sit down and meet with them and tell them this is what they're signing.
Do that in good faith.
But doesn't it need to say that in the contract?
It does in one here.
Does it?
Well, it says there's no funds beyond January or June 30, 2022.
Beyond June, what does that mean?
That's the end of fiscal year. Basically, what I'm saying is that there's no funds to pay you out of the current budget.
Oh.
Because we don't start paying them.
Okay, so that's what that means. Well, let's make sure we explain that to Travis. That's what that means, that we don't have.
So this contract, we have to start paying him July 1st, October. We're paying October right there.
I move we vote on this.
Gonna call the question.
I can't think of anything more to say about it.
We moved and seconded that we proceed to vote on resolution number 22-07, resolution approving the contract of Travis Stephen Romney as a city Erda chief of police. All in favor of this resolution, let's do a roll call vote. Start with you, Scott.
I'm a soft, yes. I'm kind of soft anyway.
Okay.
I'm a soft no, because I just get the dog table long enough that we can look at options.
Jess votes yes. Kim?
Yes.
Yes. Okay. Three strong yeses and a soft yes, say 4 out of 5. Which means motion carries. And I'll work with John to sit down with Travis and have that moved. Move on to solid waste. Is there anything that hasn't been said?
Decided on the 5 year deal. We hashed that one. We decided 5 years.
Okay, unfortunately, we do have something to hash out with here with Mr. Shella. We're all new to this, and paying this guy, which he obviously deserves to be paid, has been a point of difficulty for me because tax dollars are one of those things that are kind of sacred to me, and they should go to services. And while this was my idea, I have a hard time asking the city of Erda to pay for it. So,
This captain, does that make sense?
Yeah, that's the guy. That's the
yeah, that is the guy.
It went really well. That's right.
Oh, anyway, I can't find that agreement for some reason. Anyway, the agreement has a provision to pay him $1,500, which we struck out last time. What I'd like to do is not strike that out, commit the city to paying $1,500, and then ask the public if they are willing to donate to this cause. Paying the city of Erda a check to the city of Erda, the amount that they're choosing. Don't make it too much, because I would expect some people are gonna wanna.
Can you do a GoFundMe page?
For the city?
I wouldn't do a GoFundMe.
We're gonna take checks. Checks would go to the treasurer, and on where it says for on the check, you would say discussion series or something like that.
And this is because Anthony doesn't want checks from
He wants,
2 dozen people.
he wants an agreement from the city.
He wants to check.
He wants to not be held liable if a pipe breaks down.
So that's the other thing in the contract. He wanted to make it clear, I'm not sure if it was already, that he is not liable for controlling the event. We're liable for controlling the event.
So I made some changes to the last agreement.
Oh, you did get that?
Yes. And so, instead of identifying 2 specific dates for the future, I said 2 future dates to be determined. And because that's what somebody asked for.
My knowledge is the 4th of March.
If we get back to them.
Yes, if we get back to it in time.
And then, I added a provision, liability waiver, the city waives any and all liability against Nocella that results from this.
Perfect. And the $1,500 remains. So we're gonna put the city on the hook for the $1,500. The city is gonna sign an agreement with Mr. Nocella. He's gonna do 2 more meetings. We're gonna accept donations, and anything less than the $1,500 that's turned in by the time that we need to pay him, I will personally make that up.
I'll split that with you.
Well, there's.
I think so.
I will personally make it up in a way that the city does not have to pay. I will not be reimbursed. I will not be reimbursed for that. It will be a donation.
Oh.
So we need a motion to authorize the chair to execute that contract.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we execute this contract with Anthony Cello as amended. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
We need to double back some roads.
They would do over.
What happens to the money if he doesn't come?
He will.
He doesn't get, in the contract, it says he doesn't get paid until after the last meeting is complete.
So I'll ask my question differently. So you're saying he's coming no matter what, because if nobody made a donation, you would pay the 15.
That's correct, me personally.
Or he's coming, so he's coming.
He's coming.
Okay.
Well,
That's my question.
I can't say for sure.
Well,
We're gonna call him
something
back.
has to come.
If he breaches the contract and we've donated money to the city, do we get our donation back?
There you go, that's a better way.
That is a great question.
That's what I meant.
And are you gonna have him provide a W-9 and all of the stuff so that
It's not a donation if you want it back.
I see. Very good. We're
So,
clarifying this a little
I've
bit.
thought about this a little bit, and I thought, what if someone tries to give us a check for $5,000? What if someone just wanted to give the city money? I would say we send that back to Erda days or something.
Send a design back, tell them to.
You can take it though.
And then we would make an appointment for him at the site. For the donation to work in Erda bucks?
Yes. And you can build a house with it, Jeff.
Okay, all right, we've got this agreed to, signed, we're gonna execute that. IT, yes. Mr. Ryder's asking to go back to roads.
So, we have a meeting coming up,
The next 2 Mondays.
with the folks that are putting in the Mid-Valley Highway. And specifically, we were talking, about the railroad crossings. Because it's gonna cross Erda Way and it's gonna cross 138.
And sheep, or no?
And she.
Oh, yeah. And she's lane. So,
Already.
so we just need to see what they have to say, but we've been advised and, we're gonna slip Jake into this meeting. No, they'll know he's there, but, we've been advised that we've gotta do something different than put in crossing arms on 138. If you think of everybody from Grantsville trying to come across that road, going either direction, and there happens to be a slow-moving train there.
4 o'clock in the afternoon.
Or stall.
Yeah, or stall, or, anyway, so it's gonna come down to, at some point, they're gonna tell us what they're gonna do. But we could have a little bit of influence with them. We feel like we need an overpass over the railroad tracks on 138. And then on Sheep Lane and on Erda Way, we need to have a full crossing guards with arms and not just flashing lights. The key point that we discussed was
The sound wall. For
yeah,
residents.
yeah, but on the crossing guards arms, there's so many people that live here that are just used to driving through that Gunderson Acres crossing there. And what are those crossings? So we need the arms and the flashing lights. And then, yeah.
And also, one of the subjects was gonna be airport expansion.
Yeah.
We don't know what that's gonna entail.
But John, this is the question I had on my mind on the airport expansion. Can the airport do like the road department can? Can they tell us, we're just gonna condemn this property and we're expanding the airport?
Yes. Eminent domain.
Really?
Well, they can expand the airport.
With eminent domain? Because they don't own the property now on both ends of the airport.
They have the authority.
That's a bummer.
I'm saying we're hoping the railroad will come back to life. But it's there just in case.
And the railroad has the.
Yeah, I knew the railroad did. I knew the railroad did.
So it's just.
So, and then one other thing, just to report, we're also gonna lobby him for a sound wall going through Gunderson Acres. We'll see. We'll see.
Also, they're not expanding the Evans Way to looking into that.
So I had an email, I didn't recognize her name, but she was pretty, disappointed that the exit or the road.
Order, please, we're having a hard time hearing up here.
The road going into, what's the big subdivision that's going in on the ferry? Skywalk is going right down, it's scheduled to go right down Palmer Lane. And my question was, why are they even doing that? And we think it might be because they want to put utilities down the road into Skywalk and then back over so that there's a loop system so that water, for example, flows continuously, even if you have to dig it up in one spot or another. So in order to get the utilities down through Palmer Road and down into Skywalk and then back over to Sandsbury Park, they would need to put them down through Palmer Road into Skywalk.
Because water's got to.
Yeah. But I'm not sure that we have to give way to that. I'm not sure that we couldn't figure out some kind of a easement agreement so that there's just a few feet at the end of Palmer Road that they have an easement to put their water lines through, but not a road. What?
Jay Nielsen has raised their hand. I know he may know more about what you're talking about. It's up to you if you want to take it.
Go ahead.
Sure.
I think Skywalk's still under litigation.
Jay, if you can hear us, Jess said to go ahead. I can't unmute you. You have to unmute yourself. Maybe.
Well, let's move on, and if he starts talking.
Okay. So,
While we're waiting for him though, I believe Palmer Road runs all the way to his property.
correct.
So
Right, there's no break in between.
There is no break there. Palmer Road runs right into that property. Historically, that's how it was accessed before. There was no access off 138 to it.
I see some others are trying to tie it all in with Evans Way and leave Palmer alone.
Yeah.
Sorry, I couldn't get off of mute there, but I figured it out. I was pushing the wrong button. But yeah, this is Jay Nielsen with Skywalk. I kind of doubt that we would put a water line down Palmer Road. I just wanted to bring that up. I don't think we would do that. There is already a water line in Palmer Road. It's an 8-inch one, but Stansbury Park would not want us to connect to that 8-inch line. It's too small. They want us to connect to the 10-inch line on Erda Way. And probably the most likely way to do that would be going another route, such as down Evans Way, rather than going down Palmer Road, which already has a line there. And that's if we connect to SPID. There are other options as well, but I don't think we're going to go down Palmer Road. That's all I have.
Jay, are your plans though to extend Palmer Road into Skywalk for access?
For road access?
Yes.
I don't know.
Okay. Thanks for calling.
Sure.
Okay, anything else on roads?
Everyone done for sure.
No, but while we're doubling back, I need to go to finance for that. Ensign Engineering needs us to have their secretary put on a bank account so she can deposit the checks.
Well, so you're gonna just, what he told me, they're just gonna transfer direct deposit from their stars.
We need to get those numbers.
The checks are written out to Erda City, so they need to be deposited in our bank account. But they thought their secretary has to be on that account so she can make those deposits.
She can't make a deposit without being.
I don't know exactly how that works.
He told me they just wanted to do direct deposit. I mean, I can pick up the checks.
Yeah, but they need somewhere to deposit. They have checks for us sitting there.
Like says, I can stop by and pick them up anytime.
Let's do that until we figure this out.
Okay.
I don't think she needs to be on the account.
I don't know if she would need to be on the account, but she does need an account to put them in.
Just the number, we give it the number.
Yeah.
If it's over $10,000, then she might have to.
Yeah, so some of the checks will be large, like the subdivision review check will be the $30,000-$40,000 range, so it's not.
Well, let's ask them, Terry. Because I know I've been putting money in my kids' accounts for years, and I won't sign on those accounts.
It's a deposit.
You can put money in my account too, so.
I'll need your number.
Make sure I keep money in your kids' account too.
It'll be Erda bucks. It'll be Erda bucks. We ate, sorry.
Good. It's been brought to my attention that it would be a lot easier on the public facing public notice requirements of the city and also the planning commission if Erda had a website. I think that's obvious. I don't have the skills or the time to build that. And we also don't have much budget for this. And so I'm just gonna put a plug in again that this is something the city needs. And if you know anybody that has these skills and would like to donate some time to the city, we would be interested in that. Any other IT questions, comments? Okay, office location. This is temporary right now. We'll probably be back over at the auditorium. However, Our fire chief is working on a proposal for us, a final proposal, which will have an amount on it. And this building could be used as the Erda City offices, probably for about $400 a month. So we're waiting that. I haven't done any work on city clerk or recorder, and then being busy on everything else. So we are going to have some money in a couple of weeks. And,
This much money.
Very thin budget, and I do think we ought to hire this clerk recorder soon. So I think I'll go ahead and do the Indeed and maybe some Facebook posting.
And we're also saving $60,000, we're not hiring a treasurer.
Some of that, if not, all of it is going to go to the state standards. But thank you for your work there.
It's already like, I double lock instead of single lock.
Okay, has anybody attended any council representative meetings?
No.
The one I had was
The
canceled.
emergency operations center.
We all like that.
Somebody like to make a 30-second report on that?
This is a place up just south of the county building, just through the parking lot. It's their emergency operations center. Holy cow. I don't know if you've ever been, I've never been in there. They got screens and they got computers that come up through.
Looks like
desks and.
Looks like a war room.
Yeah, seriously. Holy cow. If something goes wrong, some serious catastrophe or something happens in Twilla County. And
if we were to have a
key people
big
are supposed to go
earthquake
there.
or a big fire,
20 years.
some of us would be in there trying to help.
They built it 20 years too late, because the money that built that was from the CSEP from the government for emergency management.
Oh, really?
And so it was their money to pay, but they should have had that at the very beginning of the email program, not at the end. They had to dump some money, so they said, "Dude, have a new VOC."
It's impressive. If you ever get a chance to walk in that building. Yeah.
General comments from the council members.
I had one more report.
Yes.
So me and Scott kind of sat in on the phone, I don't know how much he heard. We met with, SPID and Over Point last week and Zions Bank. We talked about a possible PID, which is a new concept that's come out. The public infrastructure works, but, the city would have to sign off on. And it's for Oak Point and the property over in that area. That would be in the PID. The way this works is Zions would issue bonds, give a loan to the developer to put in all the infrastructure. And the reason the city would have to sign off on it is it would create a taxing district inside that pit. So basically the Oak Point would be the PID, and they would get a loan against current taxes or future taxes that come from that area to pay for all the infrastructure.
Would they be adding on top of their Twilla County and Erda tax rate?
Yes.
In order to facilitate that?
That is exactly how this.
So they're not cutting into Twilla County's taxes, they're not cutting into Erda City's taxes, this is an additional tax to live in Oak Point.
This would be an additional tax to live in that pit area that would pay for all the infrastructure in that area. And the question immediately would come, why would Erda City even think about it? And the reason we would think about it is that gives them all the funding up front to do the infrastructure and pay for some of the things that we might want. Like, a new city hall or the 33rd Parkway, to get those road sections done. Instead of piecemealing and building everything out, it gives them the money to put the backbone infrastructure in first. And the only tax obligation goes to the people who will be moving into that area. If it fails for any reason, it does not encumber the city at all. Like I say, it is a taxing district, which means we would have to sign off on it. And that was the gist of that meeting.
It seems like one of the advantages for a city to use this is you get all of the infrastructure put in so that you know that it's all going to conform and that it's all going to be able to gel together, and there's not going to be problems trying to get this line or that line. And so you get it all put in to begin with. That's the real advantage for a city. But it's a new thing, and fortunately, we have Grantsville and Tooele both putting one of these in, and so we should be able to see how it works for them and learn from what they
Zions currently has 30 of these in process in the state of Utah right now with different cities. And it's like Hope Point, they start building it. It's to our advantage to have 33rd Parkway and a stoplight built first. Not bring in 1,000 residents and then start thinking about building this road. Get the money for the infrastructure up front, have them do the improvements up front.
This is a way to avoid a lot of complaints that our state has had with developments, right? Our state's had, I think, a big problem with that, putting people in and going, oh, we should really widen this road now. This is a way to avoid that situation, get ahead of it.
I think 33rd is supposed to go all the way to 112.
It is, but they're only gonna build a section that goes through between Ruby and 36. But if we support it, then it gets that done. Like I said, that'll also give them the funding up front to give us the money that they've committed to give to us. So it's something to think about. It's not something to move on tonight, but it is.
That was gonna be my next question. What are they?
There's no real deadline for when we have to sign on to it.
I know they want to move forward.
They would like it sooner than later.
Yes, but there is a resolution, I think, we'll put it all together once it gets to the point where it's feasible and looks like it may.
This is infrastructure only.
Public infrastructure.
Well, I think we'll want to, at that time, or just be thinking about it, I think we'll want an opinion on what does it mean for the city? What are we, I mean, it sounds pretty good. Are we obligating ourselves to anything down the road? It kind of sounds like it's protecting the city, but.
Yeah, and one guy mentioned, then you can get, if you're having parks put in, or if you're having walking paths put in, you know, you can get all those things put in without waiting.
John, have you seen this happen before? What's your opinion on it generally?
Well, I just worked on one when we brand new, it's been around for a couple of years. And it's a method for the developer to finance the development. And if you want to do that, that's fine. So in Harriman, they decided not to do it because their conclusion was that the people that moved into those houses and then the people that moved in afterwards don't realize that they're paying extra taxes
Than everybody
else.
How long do these tax commitments usually last?
30 years, 20 or 30-year bond.
There's a 30-year bond.
Well, that's
But it's
what
on
you
title.
agreed to. That's what you agreed to when you bought it.
And that's what they're saying. what makes this good is the people moving into a development actually pay for the infrastructure in that development. And it in no way encumbers anyone else in the rest of the city, because it's all done and there's a taxing district that is specific to that development.
We rounded the bases on that one. Anything else?
Our comments.
Just general comments, yep.
I just got one, is tired of, well, I won't say tired, it seems like a lot of people are, it goes back to that he said, she said, people, I call it the Alice in Wonderland syndrome. They hear something and all of a sudden it's off with their head, it's like, they don't try to find out the facts or try to investigate or do nothing, it's, I heard this, and then they take you to personal, or then they make a call after and say stuff, and everybody's saying, we represent these people, we represent these people. Well, as far as I know, there's only 5 people that were duly elected to represent anybody in the city of Erda, and like it or not, that's us 5. And we work for all of Erda, not any one entity or any one individual. I mean, we got a bunch of self-appointed mayors that seem to have all the answers to all our problems, but I didn't see a lot of them's name next to the ballot box, but it is what it is. But I just wish people would just kind of back off the gas a little bit, pump the brakes. Because we're trying to do the best we can with what we got.
And we are worth more than we're paid. Maybe not this much, but still.
I'm gonna quote my favorite interim recorder, and he said his favorite quote from Anthony Michello was, attack the idea, not the person. I think if all of Erda could adopt that philosophy, I think we'd be making the right step forward. Just to kind of piggyback on what you said. Anything else?
I think most of my comments we addressed somewhere in here, other than there's one that's come up multiple times, and they keep talking about higher people, and people keep talking about high density. And I think it's safe to say that nobody, or very, very few people, want high density. It's been said that if you're against incorporation, you want high density. Well, that's not true. That's not true at all. The vast majority of people don't want high density. But the balancing act that we're going to have here is individual people's rights against some different densities. And I am not willing to take away someone else's rights for something I want. People's rights are their rights, the right to own property and use it for your enjoyment is something that's well founded in the Constitution. And I'm not willing to draw a hard line on anything there. There has to be some give and take.
What I see kind of funny though is like most people move to the rural area to get away from the cities. Now it seems like the cities are trying to move to the rural areas. And then there's also a reason that AMAX and all them chemical plants are out in the desert away from the population. You gotta still be good neighbors. It's just like I brought up a long time ago, do you want to have a drag strip next to a dairy farm? Well, that's gonna impact on both sides of the fence. So my thing is just be a good neighbor wherever you're at.
Existing property owners also have property rights too that shouldn't be impeded on.
And also going back to that other thing, I'm kind of the opposite of Jeff on this because I've always considered myself an Erda because until 1994, my address was Erda. And then somebody decided, well, for mailing purposes only, I'm going to change your address to Grantsville. So ever since then, nobody asked me about that or said anything. But ever since then, I've had to put a Grantsville address on my mail. So I don't know how it's going to impact.
And it hurts you every time you did it.
Yes, it did.
And you still get to do that. Okay, I'll go out on a limb and not second what Craig said, but rights are also very important to me.
What, do I tag in? You want out?
High density
I
is
just wondered,
certainly not the reason I moved to Erda. Erda has a certain charm, a certain feel. And living here for 6 years, I can say it has a certain lifestyle. Which is why I caught a lot of flack for it, but I catch flack on everything. I get personal attacks being chairman of this council. You can't believe.
Even from the council?
Even from the council, but you guys can handle it. That's why it was important to me that even though maybe I didn't agree with everything the county did or said or passed in terms of zoning, it was important to me that the city of Erda adopt that wholesale. And anyway, that's why I did that. And
But when it comes down to it, the final decision on planning and zoning is gonna come from the residents. These are just stop gaps or whatever you want to call it. And the only reason the one is if it would have stayed together, then all the building permits and all that stuff would have been hauled. So that was one of the reasons to split the two. Part of it could keep continuing on and people could get what they wanted, while some others still got to do it.
And it is temporary. The planning commission's got a great big job in front of them. They're going to start getting the personal attacks, I have no doubt, as they start to muddle through this because our community is so divided on this topic. I just hope that we can conduct this discussion and even argument, in a way that's still respectful to other people. No reason to do personal attacks, tear people down. This is something we get over. We get to move through this and find a way through it. I don't think any one of us has the answer there. We got to keep working towards that goal, and looks like it's going to take time and patience and love and forgiveness and all those things. That's my piece.
You want the last word, Scott?
I think I have a fever.
Don't say that right now.
You might not want to hug me when I do it. I'm sitting here thinking,
second.
So just be warned.
You got a fever or you're in?
I'm pretty sure it's a fever.
Then moved and seconded that we adjourn this meeting. All in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Thank you,
Really?
Yeah. Surprised everyone said that. Gotta be So where are we going? My understanding, it's like some stages.
Yeah. Making sure you make. Okay.
And so I've got to fix the door built. Hopefully that'll be the good. I had to figure out, okay, I already have reserved the floor. Hopefully you want to take that down. I'll go ahead and finish the fifth, then I'll. This really
Once you can't get the building down.
So we think.
I don't know if I want to get up and mess around with this. But I kind of think I will.
I can only have up.
All right. Feel free.